Hi everyone, hope everyone is doing good. So for today I have picked up the question number 550, which is gameplay analysis 4 from the LeetCode. This question is the last question in the series of all gameplay analysis questions. And I think I have solved previous 3 questions in my previous videos. Alright, let's look at the problem. So we have the same table what we have seen in the earlier video of gameplay analysis. We have this table where it has activity of all the players on different games, and in this table the combination of player ID and the device ID is acting as a primary key. Now let's go through the question. I'll just read it out. Write a SQL query to report the fraction of players that logged in again on the day after the day they first logged in, and we have to round the answer to the 2 decimal places. So in other words, you need to count the number of players that logged in for at least 2 consecutive days, starting from the first login date, and then divide by the total number of players. Right. Let's look at the data. So we have this activity table where we have the list of all the games which was played by different players on the device ID. So depending on the question, let's just theoretically first find out like what all player falls into the bucket where we have to determine the fraction. So if we look at the player 1, we can see that player 1 has played the game on 1st of March, and then again played the game on the 2nd of March. So that's a consecutive day. But if we look at the player number 2 only played one game, so that player 2 does not fall into the bucket. Player 3 has 2 rows in the activity table, and player 3 has played first game on the 2nd of March, and then played another game on 3rd of June or July, I guess. But it's not consecutive. So the answer would be like we have to first count the number of players which is satisfying the criteria, and then divide that by the total number of players. With respect to query, let's find out like what approach we are going to take to identify those player which has played the game on the consecutive dates. While finding out the consecutive date, we have to make sure that we have to account for the first day when that player played his first game, his or her. So in order to find out the first day of any player, what we can do is like we can find out the minimum of event date for each of the player. Let's write down the query and see how it will look like. So first we will find out the minimum of event date for each of the player. That we can do using by group by, and we will use player ID as a group by column, and we'll use the minimum function on the event date. Let's call this column as minimum of event date. So before I write further, let's see like if this query is running or not. So there's a syntax error. Okay, so my table name is wrong. Let's correct the table name and see if the query is running or not. Okay, so I am getting the minimum of event date for each of the player. Now we can join this temporary data set with the activity table, but while joining we have to use the left auto join because we want to retain the total number of unique player, because that's what we need in order to find out the fraction. How we can do that? We can do that using the left auto join. So left join with the activity table, and we can call this other activity table as B, and let's put this first activity table in a between the bracket and call this as A. So now we have this first data set and the second data set, and now we can write the join condition. While writing the join condition, we know that the player ID is not changing in the consecutive dates, So that is going to be the same, a dot player id and b dot player id. But in order to find out the consecutive dates, we have to modify the event date while comparing. So how we can do that? We already have the minimum of event date in the first data set, so there's nothing we have to do there. We can just use the a dot minimum event date, and then we can subtract 1 from the b dot event date. So that way we are comparing from one record to the next record if the dates are consecutive or not. So the event date minus 1. I think that's it. So these are the join condition which we need. Now we can, let's find out the player id. A dot player id is going to give us all the player because they're on the left side of the join, and b dot player id is only going to give us the selected ones, which is like following the criteria. Let's see if this query is running or not. There's a runtime error. Let's find out. Okay, so we have two condition here, and I forgot to give the AND operator here. Okay, now let's try to run. Again, runtime error. Let me check. Okay, so we have, not we, I have missed this from clause here. So select these two columns from, this is the first table, this is the left join, and then the second table, and this is the where criteria or the join criteria. Let's run it. Runtime error. Okay, let's try to format this, then lazy to go through the syntax. On part looks good, then let's check out the select clause. It's looking good. Then from, and then these two table. Left join syntax is looking good. First table, all right. So I have this comma and then also the left join. So comma is not needed. Comma is only needed when we are using where condition. So hopefully this should run. Okay, wrong answer, we know that, but we are getting the correct player IDs. Okay, so now we have to calculate the fraction. What we can do is, let's just do the count and calculate the fraction. So we need the b dot player id, and then we need the count of a dot player id. Okay, and then we also have to round the fraction to two decimal places, and then we can name this as fraction. Okay, I think this is it. Let's run it. Okay, so the solution is accepted. We are getting the same answer. Let's submit it. Alright, so this is accepted. Okay, we can go back to our description. Okay, let's recap some of the main concept we used. We used the group by clause to find out the minimum of date for each player because that was one of the requirement. Then we joined the tables in such a way that we find our candidates which passes the criteria of subsequent dates. The third important thing is we used the left join because we needed all the player in order to divide with. I hope this video was helpful. Let me know if anyone has any comment. Please subscribe to my channel if you like the video. Thank you.